Making a video after all this time, only to share some bad experiences. It's a bad thing, it's negative, but I'm gonna have to do it because I think I'm gonna serve many people. You guys know that I traveled to Costa Rica. My wife is from Costa Rica. So, one of the many times that I've been there, 12, was this month. Early this month, I took the family. We went to Costa Rica. We stayed for almost a couple of weeks. Now, back in the day, I used to fly Southwest. It was the best. I was flying mostly directly. If I couldn't find a direct flight, I would take the hit and just make a stop somewhere in Florida or Texas. But it was easy enough for me because I was single. Right now, with all the family, I have a 9-year-old and a newborn. Well, a newborn. He's going to be one this Christmas. So I can't afford that. I need to go direct flight. It's hard enough to have an almost 1-year-old in your lap. It's devastating, really. Takes all the appetite to travel away. So making it as easy as possible is huge. Now, the only company that I can always find direct flights with is Avianca. Avianca is a Star Alliance company, and Star Alliance typically is good. It includes many of the big airliners in the world, so you would assume that their planes, their staff will be to the point, right? But unfortunately, that's not the case. And at this point, I'm very frustrated. So I need to talk about them and maybe save you some pain in the future. I'm going to go back a little bit, not on this trip, and share the first bad experience with them, which was when my wife, as pregnant woman, went to Costa Rica to visit the family, her family. And on the way back, they were telling her at the airport in San Jose, Costa Rica, that they can't find the reservation. And she was there vomiting because she had a really bad pregnancy, vomiting for almost an hour, telling them, guys, here's my reservation. Here's the number. Don't you see? And the lady in the counter was saying, yes, but this is not the boarding pass. She says, yes, ma'am, I understand, but I have the reservation. You're supposed to give me the boarding pass. That's why I'm here. No, I don't find you in the system. That went on for almost an hour. At that point, my wife sits at the area where the scales are and they weigh their the suitcases, and she has the head down like this, vomiting. She called me. I was seeing the whole thing the whole time, and almost the whole time. And to which point a manager comes in and says, what's going on here? That lady under the counter, behind the counter, explains what's going on. And the guy says, don't you see she's pregnant? And he does a couple of clicks on his computer, gives a boarding pass, and my wife was able to come immediately. So that was horrible on a pregnant woman, having her almost 1 hour vomiting in front of your desk. That is disgusting. Not only for the vomit, but for the way you treat your customers. Now, here in DC, the Dallas International, I was flying with a family at the beginning of the month, and I expected a good experience. Star Alliance, I know we had something bad in the past, but I'm thinking, okay, that was the Costa Rica stuff. Here is American stuff, so maybe it's different. Guess what? No, it wasn't different. We went there with our reservations. First of all, we tried to buy luggages. It wasn't part of the original ticket, so we tried to buy just a few days before the trip. It wouldn't allow us. So every time we were hitting buy, there was an error. So we took screenshots. My wife called customer service. They said just show that on the counter, and they will honor the price because we understand that this is happening. This is happening. It's not only you. This is happening. Wow. Okay, so we go the time of the flight. The lady, not knowing that we have the screenshot, she's like, okay, you have 4 luggages. It's $120 each. Now pay attention to these guys. They charge you $35 if you book before, if you buy the luggage before, but they charge you $120. Punishment. And not only that, it was 4 because it was all like a carry-on size, except for one. And they made us put all the carry-ons into that special stupid box to see if it fits. Now, thankfully, my carry-ons I bought from Greece, and in Europe, these a-holes do exactly the same thing. Granted, here they do it at the check-in. In Greece, they do it just before boarding. So nobody checks your luggage size until you go and you're ready to go to the plane. And you're like, put it here. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, it doesn't fit. Well, you need to pay as a luggage. Here's a ticket. Anyway, that's what happens. My wife picks up the phone. She's like, here, I have a screenshot. The lady talks to her manager. After talking, it took literally 20 minutes for them to come to the conclusion that they need to honor the price. And once they did, we paid. They gave us a ticket, the receipt. We went down, waiting all this time, eating food, whatever. And then as we try to board, there's 2 checkpoints. One is early, and then there's a second checkpoint just before the door of the plane, right? Before the tunnel. How do you call that? I don't know. At the first checkpoint, they're like, oh, you guys please step on the side. I'm like, okay. We're waiting there. Now, mind you, I'm holding the baby the whole time. My 9-year-old is falling apart because at that point it's midnight. Because that was the stupid flight. It was midnight. It was 11:30 when we started the boarding process, and we're waiting and waiting and waiting, and we're waiting for about 20 minutes. The whole plane goes by. At some point, I'm getting pissed. I'm like, guys, what's going on here? And they're like, oh, we see that you guys didn't pay for your luggage. I'm like, yes, we paid. My wife takes, do you have a receipt? Yes, we have a receipt. My wife thankfully had the hard copy. I never keep those things. I'm like, everything's electronic nowadays, guys. Come on, I trash these things all the time. She pulls out the hard copy, gives it to them. Like, do you know who you paid this to? She's like, there was a lady upstairs, pregnant. Oh, I know her. They call her. Okay, there's this family here. I have this ticket, this receipt. Did they pay? Now, they don't trust the ticket, right? The receipt. Yes, they paid. Okay, guys, you can go. I'm like, okay, we go. Just before you know how they take your picture just before you board? They say, step aside, please. Now, at this point, the whole plane is in the plane. All the customers are in the plane, and here we are, all the travelers. Here we are waiting again. At the 10-minute mark, I start saying, shame on you guys. Shame on you. In any other company, families with babies go first, and here we are last, and we're waiting. And at this point, it was just after midnight. I'm like, what's going on? Oh, the system shows that you didn't pay for luggage. I'm like, are you joking? At that point, I start getting loud. And the lady from the counter turns around. She sees us. She talks to the other lady that stopped us and says, we solved that issue. Let them go. At that point, by the time we went in, everybody was looking at us like we were holding them back. Obviously, the plane door wasn't closing because we were still there, waiting. And that was the experience with Avianca. Needless to say, that Avianca, if you ever go with Avianca, the seats don't go back. They don't tilt. So you go in and you're sitting 90 degrees the whole time. And the flight to Costa Rica is 4.5 to 5 hours. So all this time, 90 degrees. This was, I think, my first time. It was my first time going with Avianca. It was my wife's second or third time. So she knew. I didn't know what's going on in there. They didn't have any food, even for water you needed to purchase. So the ticket, they were expensive tickets. They're not like Sprint or whatever, Spirit, or whatever they have in Europe, those cheap flights. They're supposed to be decent company, right? And yet nothing. It was just bad. So that was my experience with them. On the way back, thankfully, there was no issues. Now, mind you, we went 3 hours early at the airport, and it took us approximately 45 minutes at the counter until they did everything. And at that point, we needed to purchase again the luggage because we couldn't purchase again through the app. And we had to do the same thing, talk to the guy. Thankfully, the guy, Alejandro, he was a very nice, bearded guy. He was like, oh, this problem. Okay, yes. Okay, I'll solve it. But even with a guy that was so cooperative, it took 45 minutes to check in. All this time holding the baby. After that, everything was smooth. So on the way back, except for that 45-minute check-in process, everything was smooth. But will I ever fly the freaking Avianca? Personally, no. If my wife wants to go direct because it has Avianca, fine. But me, I'd rather pay and have stops, layovers somewhere than having to deal with this crap again. Because I never had worse experience, and I've flown even the cheapest companies like Sprint. Sprint was much more decent than them, unfortunately, and I let them know that. I wrote reviews and I put a complaint. So if they ever reach out, fine. If not, who cares? I will never fly with them again. Let me know if you ever flown with Avianca. If you have, I assume it's because you go to Latin America. But yeah, it's a very Latin American experience and not in the good sense. It's not like in Colombia, we don't say, come here, baby. In Colombia, we say, papacito. Unfortunately, it's nothing like that. Thank you so much for watching. Until the next one. Ciao.